lot of people, no matter how hard they try, when it comes to ego and the things that Az was talking about, we do these patterns. We have these victim-victimizer patterns that come up and bite us. We're going to find out where exactly these are coming from, because it is a structure of something. There's a technical to this that you're going to find out you didn't know you had. You're going to learn how to fix that. You're also going to learn about, I've met a lot of people who say, you know, I really like the work and I try, but I still can't visualize. I still can't hear anything. I can't even do creative visualization. You know, read a book and like hold a picture in my mind. I can't see anything in there. There are reasons these blockages take place. They have to do with the thing. The same reason there is a negative ego, it's the same reason those type of blockages exist. If you've tried for a number of years with spiritual things, or tried to make a shift and a difference in your life by getting spiritual and learning more, and you still find it's like walking through like quicksand. No matter what you do, you seem to be walking around in a circle in quicksand, because you learned a lot but it didn't get you anywhere anyway. You're still walking around a circle in quicksand and your feet are sinking deeper and deeper. If you can begin, when people go through that, there's a disheartening that happens where you get to the point where you just kind of say, why bother? And you just kind of get where nothing matters, like you don't care anymore. Do technique, yeah, right, who cares? And I don't, you know, it's not going to fix it anyway. I've tried that. There's a reason why we have this resistance, that every time we try to make a good change in our life and really like give our whole self to something, I'm going to make this work for me, and you just watch it fall apart again, where you give up. It's because of this thing called the shadow and the technicals that are involved. We are being given techniques now to shift the shadow and understand, first of all, what it is we're shifting. You will see why it has been so hard. You will see why, if you thought your progress was slow, why it has been. And you will realize it is your responsibility, but it has not been your fault in that there's something lacking or wrong with you. You will be able to look at yourself again and say, wow, look what I've managed to stay in this good shape under. I'm doing pretty good. You always say, wow, and I'm still here and functional? This is good. So I'm excited about bringing that material, the shadow material, so you understand what it is, where it is, and how we fix it. And also so you can start to find that even though we talk about big, heavy stuff, and yes, there's some interesting changes coming to the planet that are going to scare a lot of people out there, when you start to realize you don't need to be scared, there are things you can do to help your own personal life and to walk through whatever the hologram has to offer. And you can begin to find the peace and the confidence that comes from being able to love yourself again. You can't love yourself as long as your shadow's teaching you how to hate yourself. So as we learn about the technical, the physics of the shadow, you'll start to have a lot of compassion for this race and for you as a member of it. Because we have been a race that has been sitting here, dealing with a biochemical reality running through our body that has chemical claws that have held our brains in check for 25,500 years. There's something we call the CD in the head. We all have a CD that runs in our head. And it's an amazing CD because you learn to recognize it as a CD, like you have a CD player in there, because you can watch yourself, and if you really learn to look for it, from the time you were a kid all the way up to who you are now, in various circumstances, you will find the same sets of thought loops running. When you start to see that in yourself, recognize, oh, I just saw my shadow, because the CD in the brain is part of the shadow pattern. Because we're dealing with a shadow issue that speaks to us silently through our emotional reactions, you don't really know what your emotion is compared to what your shadow is. And your shadow emotion will not be a reflection of your energy reactions. The shadow is plugged into something called a shadow dancer. Now we're going to get into the anatomy of the shadow in one of the later workshops, where you're going to discover something that's quite amazing. That not only do you have a shadow, a part of you that needs some healing, that's, you know, in reverse and it takes the negative, let's say. Somebody created that on purpose. It's not an organic state for humans. Duality that is caused by the shadow being there is not a normal state for humans. But that duality of consciousness that gives us fight or flight instinct, survival of the fittest mentality, all of that dividing stuff, is coming from another group of beings completely in a different time matrix, a fallen time matrix. They have, because they are genius level intelligence and they understand the mechanics of creation physics as how they work in the Universal Templar, they have used creation physics in a perverted anti-Christos way that has literally allowed them to do something to this planet that created the shadow pattern in the first place as a pattern of energy that they could use to interface with their system. We are attached right now to a companion that isn't friendly, a companion that moves the shadow to do its will, regardless of how you feel about it. It also sucks energy from your fields. The planet has a shadow. Each one of us has a shadow. It's a physical phenomenon. It manifests in the body as chemicals, certain types of chemicals that are not organic to the human form. It is what poisons us and why we die so young. We didn't used to die like this. It creates the DNA mutation. The shadow body is literally a body replicate. It's an electrostatic body replicate that is created through drawing part of our shields, reversing the mathematical coding on them, keeping them connected to our living shields, and then connecting the other side into the 𝑵𝒐𝒕𝒓 matrix. There's a whole matrix called the phantom matrix that was the original black hole that had formed in this system, but it was still at least self-contained at that point when it first formed. What the shadow does is take part of our cells, 2/3 of our cells in fact, and twist them into the shadow body that ends up walking around in a hologram that resembles this one but it's different, that's called phantom matrix on phantom Earth. We each have a piece of ourselves stuck on phantom Earth. When we project, or we try to astral project, what happens is instead of going up over here like we're supposed to, where we get into the other bodies and the seals release, we have all of this horrid apparatus, literally in like crystalline implants, shield implants, that create this mess of, I'll explain what the mess is, but what the mess does, first of all, is it fragments what should be the regular current that comes out from the navel, your 𝑗𝐼𝐻, new word, 𝑗𝐼𝐻 tube, that silver cord that comes out right below the navel that would normally, when the seals release, allow you to go up and out into, expanded states of consciousness, into astral or whatever. That gets hijacked and pulled out the back way. It gets split into 2 tubes, and one of them goes up and feeds the phantom body, or the shadow body. The other one, the 1/3 that's left, is a little bit of your consciousness that gets stuck and phase-locked into the D3 mental plane. It can't go anywhere while that division is there. Every time we go to sleep at night, this happens. Because when a person, normally we didn't go to sleep in the old days when our bodies worked the right way. We would shift consciousness. We would energize the body by shifting the consciousness through the tube and up into higher spaces and expanding the energy and bringing it back into the body to re-energize the body. Then we do some salutations and do the spins to activate the Merkaba, and just it all worked well. What happens now is when we go to sleep, this is why dreams are all over the place. They're fragmented all over the place. Because a party is stuck here, and it has its own little thought forms, pieces of stuff it did during the day, pieces of stuff it did when it was 2, just floating around as mental body holograms. This other thing goes on journeys. Most people that are experiencing astral projection right now are projecting right into phantom, because they're going right into their shadow body. They don't know the difference. And there's a lot of things there that can seem like they're cool and seem like they're neat. It's kind of neat. There's whole hit teams over there that are people that are here that have become awake and aware and very functional in their phantom body and got recruited by different groups from the 𝑵𝒐𝒕𝒓 matrix or from phantom matrix to serve as hit teams here who ensnare people and souls and things when they're coming over at death, or who grab other people that try to go into the astral state. They literally escort the shadow body over to make sure it gets through the net over into the portals or the wormholes that lead into the phantom matrix. This is why our dreams are fragmented, because when this comes back, and there's something interesting about dream state. You know how the scientists tell us, a normal part of dream state is the REM period, the rapid eye movement period. This is not a normal state. This is a state that occurs when, after this went on its journey, goes on a journey into phantom. What it does is have a series of experiences there. Those experiences bounce back and get recorded as memory in the DNA template, part of the shadow body. Then that body comes back over, the 2 cords intertwine, picks up the mental body on the piece of the mental body on its way, brings it all back into the body. The reversals, the new reversals that were picked up over there. Every time we dream, we get more reversals coded into our DNA template. The REM state is the point where you see the conflict between here and here, where the template of this, with its reversals, is forcing itself into the template here and overriding the natural thing and reversing this. So this actually turns this energy around, swallows it, and drags it back into the body as more of a reversal that creates a bigger shadow body. It's a mess. It is, I mean, it just, when I saw this come through, oh, yuck! You know, it's like makes you want to run away. You think bugs are yucky. You know, this is like worse than the worst bug or icky thing you've ever met down here, or slime and all those gross things we think about going ew to here. This is big ew. This is energy ew. This is frightening, you know, if we were going to let ourselves react that way. To think, though, that there are races out there that are brilliant enough to understand the body mechanisms, the planetary mechanisms, they're doing this on a galactic and universal level. They're literally out of a 15-dimensional matrix. They have 11.5 dimensions in this form right now. We have, all of our stargates have their equivalent shadow. And what's happening right now in this time period? Right now we have, let's say, 3 matrices. The living one, the phantom one that was part of the living one that's still attached to it, and now the 𝑉𝒂𝒃 one that's directly attached to the phantom. What the 𝑉𝒂𝒃s are doing now is they're doing the final kill, going in for the kill, where they are going to run the flaming blue sword current of the D13 reverse current all the way through the implants, through phantom, through us. And it will reverse the whole thing. The Kathara grids will flip this way, then this way. The mathematical coding will take us right down. That's their plan. This is why we're on evac. Now there's a thing, a machine called the Beast, that's responsible for creating this effect. And it's quite complicated. It has to do with crystalline implants inside of planetary cores and star cores, placed in very specific ways that allow the formation of that artificial flaming blue current that isn't supposed to be there. There's a whole series of major feeding on universal and galactic levels, but they also manifest on personal levels. Every life form in this matrix, and every life form on Earth has this problem right now. There's nothing that escapes it, because when you come in to the planetary template or the galactic template, you pick up the same imprint that's in the planetary shields. If the planetary shields and the galactic shields happen to have nasty implants in them, you pick up a replica of the implants coming in. This is the disease we all allowed ourselves to take on so we could get in and then heal it. So we could then, once we heal ourselves, begin to heal it around us. Here's the phantom matrix and the shadow. Now what this is an electrostatic field that doesn't belong there. It's an electrostatic field of reversed dimension 8 gold energy. All right, gold wavelength, D8 energy reversed. This is also what fills out in our field here. Instead of where the Eros is supposed to be, we end up with electrostatic reversed gold, D8 gold frequency there. And this is what allows the reversal of the 𝑐𝒖𝒓 field, allows for the D8 frequency to be brought in, the reverse current to be brought in, and that's what creates the magnetic repulsion zones that create these fuzzy static blocks all the way through. This goes all the way up the chain, up to your D4, your density 4 level. But your divine blueprint at D12 is untouched. It's still pristine. And that's why it can be used once it's reactivated to clear all the mess. These things are the feeding tubes. They go through the voids. Density 1 void. Now they don't go through 0-point void because they don't have any receivers. They only go here. And I'll show you what the dimensional scale is doing over there in a minute. But density 1, density 2, density 3 voids. They have main feeding streams. From those come little tiny ones that feed into everything. This has happened to the galactic. If you looked at these as templates, if you looked at our galactic template, you would have the feeding cords feeding energy off our galactic template. You take that down to the planetary level. Same thing on the planet. Take it down to the personal level. Take it down to a bug. Even bugs on the planet have shadows at this point. Everybody's got a shadow. You know? The shadow, if anybody's an innocent victim, the shadow is. You know? The shadow is a part of ourselves that we actually temporarily sacrificed to enter this healing experiment. It got so far out of hand here that somebody didn't come in directly into the problem. It was going to take out the matrix, and we came in, the humans and the indigos came in. Whatever they had to go through for the last 25,000 years, came in, kept the race line alive with the codes in the DNA template, that they would be able to run the frequencies to clear this mess. And every piece of themselves that they cleared, they would clear a piece of the planet with them. Now at this point, because of what happened in March 2002, the Beast was activated. That's where Plan B immediately went into, that was Plan B evacuation, went into operation. There's something called phase lock in the grids that takes place. Phase lock means it gets locked into a certain frequency line, and it can't be shifted until, well, something, the natural phase lock is how we're phase locked into D3, but we open the seals and it lets us to release the phase lock so we can move. Well, the Beast apparatus There's a whole series of implants that are like literally all over the planet in key places that will run the blue sword energy through a whole step-down series of implants called the turnstile matrix. The turnstile matrix is the life of the beast on the planet. Now, it's been dormant. They haven't activated it before. They tried to activate it in 22,326 BC. They need the stargates open to activate it, so they need a stellar activation cycle. They waited until this one to do it. They hadn't activated the beast before, and they weren't due to do it until 2011. But we were having so much success with bringing enough D12 subharmonics here that they decided it was their last-ditch attempt to do it now. Because if we had been able to quickly enough get enough frequency of D12 subharmonics in the grids by August 12th, 2003, which is called a magnetic peak, that's when the planetary Merkabah field spins its fastest, and it, like whatever imprints are in the planetary grids at that time get amplified to all heck. If we could have kept doing what we had been doing, doing the round tables and doing Q sites and healing the grids, we would have hit critical mass then. When it was amplified in 2003, it would have thrown D12 frequency all through the grids, and it would have been so high in frequency they could never activate the beast. So because we were doing as well as we were, they decided to activate it early. They were going to do it anyway. So it's like, well, what's the difference if they did it in 2011 or now? At least now we still have the ability to be conscious, because there was one thing that occurred with this. What they were planning by 2011, there's going to be a whole series of psychotronics used to create a frequency fence in the mental bodies, where they already had control of the mental bodies of people by the time they activated the beast, so there'd be no resistance whatsoever. Even us, we were supposed to be Metatronic by then. Well, their hands was forced. They were going to lose the game if they didn't act now, but they didn't have their frequency fence up yet, which means we still have our minds. It means we're not Metatronic yet. They're trying to Metatronic us now, but they don't have us harnessed, which means we can still use our mental bodies to activate the frequencies that'll set us free. So it was better this way than the other way. It was a calculated risk, and it was worth it to take to try to get the grids up to stop the beast. But because the beast activated, there's another set of things called the emerald turnstiles that were another set of implants that were positioned wherever the other turnstiles were, wherever we call them the Archangel Michael matrix turnstiles, because they're the collective that calls itself Archangel Michael. These are the inventors of the beast. All right, these are the ones who put it in. The emerald turnstiles, as soon as the beast frequency starts to run, which is the reversed D13 current, the blue sword current, it gets picked up by the emerald ones, and they split it back into its original components, which was reverse D7 and reverse D6, and then it reverses the D6 that was stolen from Phantom Matrix, and it sends the reverse D7 back to 𝑉𝒂𝒃. But in the middle of this, you have a planet, or a body, or a set of molecules stuck to a template. Part of the template is coded to one side, one current, part is coded to the other. So it's going to split. The planetary grids are going to separate. The radio bodies are going to separate. Our bodies are going to separate. People who don't have enough of the divine blueprint left are going to go the way of 𝑉𝒂𝒃. At this point, some people can't be saved. You wouldn't be in this workshop if that was your case. There's nothing they can gain. The ones that are definitely going, there's nothing they can gain from learning any of this other than to terrify themselves. They don't need the knowledge. It's not going to help them. It's only going to hurt them if they find out the betrayal that they lived under. But at this point, there's not much of them left anyway, because what's happening with the people who had those implants in their templates, what is happening to them, they're being activated now. Their Metatronic implants are being activated, which means the shadow dancers that have been for a long time over here are coming right through and taking over the bodies. So the people that go down aren't going to be the poor humans or anything that we think they are. They're not even going to be in their bodies anymore. They're going to be bounced into any of the natural template that's left is going to be bounced into the dimension 1, 2, and 3 unified field on this side. Now there's a program that's being operated from the higher levels that has to do with even the ones that are going to fall. If they have a little bit more than 30% of their template, there's going to be a fight in the template. Keep pulling back and forth, and it's going to be torturous for the being, the soul, and the body, and it will kill the body eventually. There's a merciful way to allow the separation to occur. If they use these techniques, it will allow the 𝑉𝒂𝒃 side of them. It's like being half possessed. and you have something literally possessing you, and you're going to fight over the body. And you can like sit inside your head and slug at each other until you kill yourselves and the body, or you can say, okay, we're both losing this way. Fair division. Whatever is on our side now, whatever's on your side now, split it. That's what's happening. Even some of the people that are going in the downward thing, or in the downward spirals, are going to be using our technique. They will be the ones that have 31% to 51% of the divine blueprint left in their templates. They're the ones that will be caught in the fight, in the gray zone. That will be the most torturous place to be. The ones that are totally gone already, that have less than 30%, they're off in La La Land. They're having parties with Archangel Michael, dancing around, smelling flowers. They're happy. That's because the person who's in them has absorbed the original personality, whatever was there. They've been body snatched and absorbed, not displaced like a normal possession would do. A normal possession bounces what was supposed to be in there out, sticks it in the unified field where it's displaced, and takes over the body. It always gives you the opportunity to take the person that got displaced and get them strong and bounce the other thing back out and put them back in the body. When you have the Metatronic coding happening, they absorb the shield of the person that was in there. They tear it apart within themselves and then reassemble it on the base 8. It's like a base 8, 7, 11 coding. It's a very strange mathematical coding, and it's not organic at all. Once it's reassimilated, they've assimilated the consciousness into their own. The person no longer exists as they were. So what's happening to the people in some of these movements that we're watching? At this point, the kill has been gone in for. They're not even the persons you might think they were. They may be even walking around in bodies that are familiar to you. That doesn't mean who you used to know in that body is there anymore. Be aware of that, because that's one of the hardest things to deal with in this, is to look at people you care about and you love, and to face the fact and come out of denial and really look at, do they feel the same anymore? Do they act the same? Is the bond we had really there? What makes this even harder is the thing that absorbs them will use the personality imprint. It has the memory banks. They're in the cellular memory. They can remember anything. It's not like somebody strange walked in and doesn't remember you, so they have to pretend. They take the memory banks, so they know you. They remember, oh, we had good times, and if they want to get you, if they want to take you in, they will use every ploy from, oh, poor me, save me, oh, yes, you're right, oh, save me, to, you're absolutely crazy. Can I help you, dear? Oh, can I, come with me. The way the personality identity that we each have here can be absorbed and then used as a mask by the 𝑉𝒂𝒃 shadow dancers is amazing. It's an art form, a perverted, disgusting art form, but it is amazing. You need to be aware that in what's happening on the planetary bodies right now, even if you don't like what I just said, which if anybody likes it, you gotta be crazy. You gotta be a 𝑉𝒂𝒃 if you like it. Heck. It is part of the reality we're going to see. So it's important to talk to your shadow about it, because your shadow is going to want to be in total denial. Nope. This is that person. I know this is this person that I'm close to. The body. See, I see the body. That is that person. I know it is. I see the personality. I know that's the person. Feel deeper. This is why a thing can come and take on an image. That you might have an image of your long-lost brother who was killed in a war 50 years ago, and you always loved him. He was your younger brother, let's say. I always loved him, and you've always held a picture in your mind of that person. And all of a sudden, in this time frame, when all these wild things are happening in the astral, you find, after all these years, your brother contacted you from the dead and is trying to guide you, to get you to do something. Guess where a 𝑉𝒂𝒃 could find that picture? In your own mind. This is why, if we don't learn to tell the difference in frequency by sensing, we have to turn on our senses and begin to tell the shadow to shut up. It might sound nuts, but I see a reptile in that body. I know I do. And even if it looks like a human on the outside, I'm starting to get the game. Oh, yuck. But I'm starting to get the game. And not all reptiles are bad. There's a lot of reptiles that are actually coming over the Odetticron. I was using it as an example. But there's a real rude awakening when it hits home. When you start to find friends or family or people you thought were friends or church groups that you thought were supportive become something else. And it's so subtle because there will be a subtle, gently trying to get you to change your position. Oh, you don't need to learn that. Oh, it's so much happier over here, etc. this is going to be rampant here. There are still people that, see, the indigos and the humans, still, even if they have the shadow, most of us have face locked on this side, but we still have the battle issue. If they can hijack our shadows, it would kill our body, first of all. If 2/3 of the living life force, even if it's reversed, it's still relatively alive before it falls into 𝑉𝒂𝒃. If that shadow were to be sucked in here and ripped apart from the part of us that's good, the part of us that's good doesn't have enough energy to sustain here. We turn back into molecular pieces down here. So there's a lot of, okay, let's collect extra food going down among the collectives who know they're falling.